Welcome to Day 4 of the Week of Prayer for Christian Unity. I'm Reverend Dr. Bill Lyons, Conference Minister for the United Church of Christ in Arizona, New Mexico, and El Paso, Texas. Each year, the Church sets aside this week to reflect on God's intention for and our pursuit of unity in the lived experience of a church that is already one in the mind of God. The Week of Prayer for Christian Unity comes during the season of Epiphany. This week, we're reflecting on the Magi's visit to the Christ child, and each day on a particular part of that story. Matthew 2:6 guides our thoughts this afternoon. And you, Bethlehem in the land of Judah, are by no means least among the rulers of Judah. For from you shall come a ruler who is to shepherd my people, Israel. Those words are an encouragement to any person or community who suffered marginalization. They're a warning to individuals and communities of privilege and power. To the church, I find these words an invitation to remember who Jesus calls us out of the world to be. God embodied entered the world as a baby and spent his first 2 years in a small town whose only claims to fame were its ancestral connection to Israel's King David and an obscure prophecy written on a scroll some 500 years after David's reign. How extraordinary that the heavenly parent announced the birth of one called the Son of God to the world with only the twinkle of a new star noticed by foreign astrologers or magi, while the new sovereign subjects, people entrusted with sacred texts foretelling the event, missed it completely. Hope, the powers of reason, their own worldview, and that star led those observant, wealthy, influential outsiders from some place east of the border to Jerusalem. It made perfect sense that the new Jewish sovereign whom they sought would be found among the family of the Herods in the capital of Judea, home to the Jewish temple, high priests, and Sanhedrin. But the child wasn't there. It's not that the Magi got it wrong. I can imagine that it was much more difficult to know exactly where that starbeam kissed the earth than the pictures on Christmas cards would lead us to believe. And just to be exact, the Magi set out to find the child whom the star heralded after they'd seen it rise. Matthew tells us specifically only when the Magi departed Jerusalem did the star go ahead of them, until it stopped over the place where the child was. No, the Magi didn't get it wrong when they showed up in Jerusalem. It just never crossed their minds that little rural towns could be the birthplace of kings, and that God's cosmic signs didn't always apply to the politically powerful. It's easy to assume that God works through elite, established, powerful, religiously pure people. God can, and God does. And God can and does work in and through people who can easily be overlooked, people too often looked past, people not seen, people who are not influential, let alone powerful in the world systems. When the Magi got to Bethlehem, there, in God's light, they really saw, God in a child, and a child who was in God so completely, that child became the bread of life, the leaven who transformed the world, the light who dispelled the darkness. I wonder, will we let ourselves see God's light, the people whom we've overlooked or looked past, the ones to whom we've closed our eyes? Are we willing to listen to understanding the individuals and communities we told ourselves were wrong? I wonder, what would happen if all of us in the church stopped trying to be right and focused on being faithful? What would we see and how would we be seen then? I wonder, followers of Jesus, when will it be said of us that they always treat their Christian siblings as the light of the world, the salt of the earth, the branches connected to the same vine whom their master understood them to be? No one any less bright or flavorful or alive than another. I wonder, What might happen in the life of the church, in the life of the world, when our words and our deeds reflect a sincere conviction that you, my Christian companion, are by no means least among us? After praying for the followers who walked the earth with him, Jesus said to God, "My prayer is not for them alone. I pray for those who will believe in me through their message, that all of them, that's us, may be one, just as you are in me and I am in you. May they also be in us, so that the world may believe that you have sent me." Christian unity is what happens when followers of Jesus realize and acknowledge the divine in each other and routinely, continuously live in ways that embody, "You are in me, and I am in you, and together we're in God." God, who is one, how grieved you must be when we are divided. Forgive us for not allowing ourselves, for not challenging ourselves to always see you in one another, and for the times when we refuse to see ourselves in others or them in us. May we be you to our siblings in faith. Together, may all Christians be grounded in you and so be the united church Jesus has prayed for us to be. Amen.